problem called Antonia and string. So what is this problem? Let's try to understand. So Antonia is a collector. He collects unique antique items in the collection. Okay, that makes sense. He has a string A of size n, and whose each character is a box. Each box contains dot or x. Dot represent empty and x represent antique item. That's fine. Now there is something he can do. Antonia can shift the item from one box to another according to the rule. So the rule is Antonia can shift ith box to I plus 2. If I plus 2 is less than n, obviously, if there is no space where she will or he will move. And the other part is I plus 1th box contain antique item, right? And I plus 2 is empty. So the scenario that I can see is this. So if you have xx dot, then you can move this here and make this dot xx, right? The other condition is Antonia can shift item from ith box to I minus 2 and so and so. So it is just reverse of this. Let's say you have this scenario where xx dot is present. So where you can move it like this. Xx dot, right? You can move this here. Okay, Antonia wants to count the total number of unique permutation of states of unique item he can generate by using above. Okay, that makes sense. Right, so you are given an input and let's talk about sample input, right? So you will be having the size of 4 and it is nothing but dot xx dot. So what is dot xx dot? So where you can do. So one scenario is like one is the current scenario only, one permutation is this only. The other permutation is if you move it here. So this will be xx dot dot. The third permutation will be if you will move this here. So which is dot dot xx. So we have 3 permutation possible. Okay, that makes sense. But what will happen? Let's try to, we have only one. So let's try to get into depth and see what other permutation can be there. So let's say the example is this. So you have 1x, 1, 2, instead of 2, let's keep it 3 dot, right? So what will happen in case of 3 dots? So this xx can move something like that, right? This xx can move from on the position of dot. Then xx can move one more time, and then xx can move something like that. Do we have anything else possible? I don't think so, right? Because they cannot go apart, right? It cannot be the case they will be differentiated. So what I'm able to think, basically we can replace xx with the dot, right? Let's try to understand one more scenario where you have a single x. So you have xx dot 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 x, something like that. So here what you can do, you can move this x here. So it will be dot xx. See what happened actually. You moved dot with x, right? And there are 2 dot. Then another scenario can be dot dot xx dot x dot 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 x x x, right? So this can be the scenario. Now let's say we have another dot after it. See what will happen. So it will be dot dot dot. This will move here, right? So if you will see, the x is on its same position, right? So 3 dots were there and after that x were there, and now also you have this scenario, right? X is currently on the same position, right? After dot dot dot, x was there, and after here also after 3 dot, x is here. So x is not moving from his position, only double x are moving, right? So what we have to do? So basically you have to count number of dots. How many dots are present? Count number of dots. The second thing you have to do is count number of double x, right? You have to count the number of double x. Afterward, when you have counted both, what you can do. So there are some positions, right? How many positions are there? The positions are equivalent to count of dot plus count of double x, right? These many positions are possible, right? So how to find the number of permutation? So it will be easy, right? So you can say factorial of count of dot plus factorial of count of xx divided by count of dot factorial, count of, let's call it dot only, and let me write it this way, and count of xx factorial. So I think this should give us the result. So let's try it on our input, right? The input was this. So here the count is 1 for double x, and for dot the count is 2, right? So we have total number, the count of x and count of dot is 3. So 3 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 1 factorial. So the answer here is 3 factorial, which is 6 by 2 into 1, and this is equivalent to 3, and the answer is 3. Let's try to see the same thing for 4. Let's say the thing that we devised, right? So if you have the situation double x and 3 dot. So here count of dot is 3, count of xx is 1. So what you should do? 4 factorial divided by 3 factorial, 1 factorial. So you can cut it and the answer will be 4. And if you remember, we were able to find the 4 here, right? So this formula looks good. Now let's go ahead and implement this.